and I think this is the third time in Rajahmundry, second time in Rajahmundry. And the whole idea of traveling so far of distance is the idea to come and share some of this art of homeopathy and practice of homeopathy with you all. Because I can understand traveling all the way to Bombay, the traveling time, the expenses, the cost of living and everything is quite difficult. And not all of them get a chance to be where I was lucky to be with Dr.Shekhar, one of the real international teachers of teachers. And I'm still with him, associated with him for the past 30 years. And as a homeopathic student and homeopathic practitioner, we all know who he is. Right? So not all of us do really get this chance and opportunity to be with them. So I felt let us go to each and every nooks and corners of the place where we can share this homeopathic ideas. Maybe in colleges, maybe in seminars outside, so that what we are trying to do and understand as far as homeopathy is concerned. Throughout our 4.5 years of career, we have been all talking about vital force in homeopathy, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? And we have been all telling about vital force, the most powerful, the most beautiful, the most wonderful, the most important, dynamic. But what is this vital force all about? What is the idea of this vital force? Throughout our batches, we have been told that, okay, fine, in the subject of Organon, do not miss this word vital force. And do not simply just leave the question paper blank. Just write something about vital force and will pass an Organon. Yes or no? Time and after, passes and after. And the idea that at the end of 4.5 years, when we see and when we try to understand what is vital force, we still are not knowing about it at all. 4.5 years, what is materia medica? We don't know. What is repertory? We don't know. What is surgery? We don't know. What is physiology? That is also gone bonkers. And we get the degree in our hand with this beautiful website called as www.totalconfusion.com. We are as good as what we are in 12th standard after 4.5 years finishing our internship. And now with fellowship examination, when I take and I ask them, Baba, just try to tell me where is the liver. Forget now. Know whether the liver is swollen or not. They can't get it. I said, Baba, where is the liver? So it is enlarged. What is enlarged? Stomach is enlarged or liver is enlarged? Taking blood pressure, the ear, but the thing is not on the ear, it's here. Sir, 120 by 80. Literally, this is the scenario. And how to pass? What to do? Okay, go. Because the heads say this much percentage of students have to pass. This is the state of condition. And then we are out without this idea or understanding about this particular word called as vital force or atma or the soul. And this soul is nothing else but simply having these two words called as vital and force. And when we say vital, it is something that is important. And force is what? Nothing else but a form of energy. So if you replace this, it is nothing else but an important form of energy. And that is what Hanuman says, that this important form of energy is something that animates this material body through sensations and functions. And therefore we are able to perform our duties. And therefore we are able to do our work. We are able to sense something that is bad and good. We are able to sense something that is exciting or something that is boredom. And when we talk about this word about energy and say it is an important energy, the whole idea that comes behind it is when we talk about energy is organized. that energy can neither be created nor can it be destroyed. It is only transformed from one form of energy to other form of energy. And when a person dies, we say the soul is departed, right? The soul, the Atma has gone, the Prana, the Jiva has gone. Where has it gone? It has gone back to nature. And if it has come from where? It has come from nature. And therefore the nature comprises of these three major components. The plants, the animal and the man. And these three major components have got its own basic qualities. The idea about how the plants are in nature, how the animals are in nature, and how the minerals are in nature. And therefore, this energy is something that is only mere patterns, not by words. Now we just saw the example of 3 hours of case taking done. Probably I assume that first 2 hours could be simply logical, simply through knowledge, which is of no use for us. Ideally it is of no use, because all that the person knows we know, because that is all human. And humanly we all can understand sad, bad, angry, frustrated, irritated, yes, we all understand this. But what we cannot understand is something that comes up which is you cannot understand and neither the patient can understand. The idea that comes up is something that is unique to that individual, which is spoken up spontaneously. And therefore, that becomes the characteristic of that individual. Something that is unique to that individual. I felt so angry, इतना गुस्सा आया डॉक्टर साहब, ऐसे लगा मानो जैसे मैं उसको फाड़ के निकाला. अब फाड़ना is not human. ऐसे लगा जैसे उसको निगल डालूं. I felt like swallowing him up. Do we swallow? We chew and then we swallow, right? We directly don't swallow. ऐसे लगा जैसे उसको निगल डालूं, निचोड़ डालूं उसको. Do we squeeze anything? While eating, do we squeeze the chapati like this and then we eat? We don't squeeze. So these words, these beautiful understanding, निचोड़ डालूं, फाड़ डालूं, इस तरह से गुस्सा आ गया जैसे कर सकते उसका हाथ पैर काट डालूं. All these are not the qualities of human being. Are you getting? This has to be something from nature. This quality has to be something from nature. And therefore, they speak these words, they speak these qualities which we are not aware of. We do not know from where is he talking about. But it simply sounds, this is strange. I want to be big. I really want to do a good administrative work. I want to do a lot of things, lot of activities like cooking, keeping the house tidy, making tiffin for my husband. See the way how it is. Big things I want to do. Big administrative thing. I want to become great. I want to become really well-known personality. I want to be known. I want to be appreciated. I want to be accepted by the society. What do you want to do? I want to cook for my husband, for my children. I want to take care of them. Can you see what is the thing? When the talk is about big, but when you ask for the examples are pretty small daily jokes. So इंसान बात करता है बड़ा बड़ा, लेकिन जब हम उसको पूछने जाएंगे एक दो एग्जाम्पल दो, तो तब आपको पता चलता है कि एग्जाम्पल के द्वारा क्या एक्चुअली उसकी फितरत है. फितरत बोलते हैं ना, उसकी फितरत कितनी है. That gives us an idea as to what is the level of thinking of that person through the examples. I want to do so many things, doctor. Really, I want to do so many things. My mother-in-law doesn't allow me to do. What do you want to do? Because here, doing is the action. Are you getting? Doing is the action. And that action has the energy. Because action in grammar is what? What is action word in grammar? Verb. And therefore the verb is something that is important in that act, whatever the person is trying to say. और कुछ करना है, क्या करना है will give you the action. Like for example, stiffness for Astrox is the verb. Constriction for cactus is the verb. Are you getting? So there is this word that gives you the idea that this is something to do with that particular remedy. If you see boric, how many of them read boric malaria medica? Have you ever seen something in italics over there? If you go and see, go back and see, all that thing is in italics are all words. और अगर आपको अगर पढ़ना है कोई रेमेडी तो इटैलिक को छोड़ के पढ़ो. वो रेमेडी को मतलब बनता तो बोलो मेरे को आगे. That remedy will have no meaning. Because all that is given in italics in Boric is all that shows the action of that particular remedy. If the vital force gives action to human being, according to formula number 9, it is this dynamics and that animates the material body. As regards to both sensation and function, it is this vital force that animates. So ये vital force जान डालती है ना? Yes or no? Same way. The alkaloids of the plants, the venom or the milk or the beak of the animal, respective animal in the animal world, or the chemical properties of the minerals that we see gives life to that substance. Animals do have certain period of life, they die after it. Plants also have certain period of life, yes or no? And then we remove that crop and put a new crop because the life is over. Even minerals have half-life period. सुना है ना गलती से कहीं पर? So everything has a life. And when that life is over, it dies and transforms into something else. Now what is that life if you have to understand in that particular substance? The life is whatever is the active principle of that substance. The active principles of the plant is alkaloids. The active principle of the animal is, for example, if it is snake, it is the venom. If it is mammal, it is the milk. If it is a bird, it is the beak or the claws. Are you getting? These are something that without which that particular substance cannot live. Earth, do you know earth? इतर बनाते हैं मालूम है? इतर किससे बनाते हैं? अर्थ से बनाते हैं. The alkaloid, the very center of a particular substance of the plant, right? So that is something that has got life, and that life, that active principle, is something that has got charna. It has got life. Rest all is pulp. गन्ने का जूस निकालने का वो बचा हुआ चीज खाते हैं कि जूस पीते हैं? केले का छिलका खाकर केला फेंकते हैं, केला खा के छिलका फेंकते हैं. So similarly, the alkaloid is the one that gives action. It is the properties of the mineral that gives action. It is this particular venom that gives us the action of that particular snake. Are you getting? So therefore, all this action grammatically is nothing else but verb. और वो verb transform होके हमारे में आया है, depending on Einstein's theory. Are you getting? That verb has transformed from that substance into us. And जब ये verb चालना में रहना चाहिए ना, it should keep moving. When this stops moving, or when this is made to stop moving, that is the time when your noun becomes more and more. What is noun? What is noun? Name. So your eczema is the noun. Your psoriasis is the noun. Your hypertension is the noun. Your diabetes is the noun. So when your verb starts getting press, जब आप ये वर्ब को दबाते हो, जितना दबाते हो, लाइक द वाइटल फोर्स को जितना दबाते हो, उतना ही दबकर वो अपना एक लेवल पे पहुंच जाता है, जब वो साइंस एंड सिम्टम बताता है, एंड दैट इज व्हेन द डॉक्टर गिव्स यू. And this is where the noun becomes the dead end of the road. The noun becomes the dead end of the road. And by the time then the verb reaches to the noun, the process of the time period from this verb, which is the action word, from there to reach to the noun, it passes through a lot of adjectives. Red eruptions, greenish yellow colored discharge, alternating sides of this itching. These are all adjectives. Green discharge, yellow pus, red eruptions are all adjectives of what? Of that noun. वो नाम का detailing जो adjective के साथ आता है. And you see how the beauty is. If I have to say Ram in garden, does it make any sense? How many of them say it makes sense? How many of them say they can understand Ram in garden? How many say it doesn't make sense? Up, itna nahi, up. Why it doesn't make sense? Beg your pardon? What is he? What is the word there? Doing. Doing is not there, therefore it doesn't make any sense. And therefore, if you say Ram is sitting in the garden, Ram is playing in the garden, Ram is walking in the garden, Ram is moving around in the garden, then it makes sense to that sentence. Therefore, the verb becomes important for a sentence to have meaning. Yes or no? Therefore, if you now see all the verbs in a particular remedy gives importance to that remedy, gives a name to that remedy, gives dynamism to that remedy, because that verb is mentioned for that remedy. And that verb is something called as stiffness, taut, tight for rustox. Constriction, expansion, to blow is for cactaceae for that matter. So all these are basically the verbs. Is this clear till here? Anybody not understanding, please for God's sake, हाथ उठाओ और पूछो, because this is why I am bringing it down. I am making your life easy to understand. हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं आज के तारीख में और what are we trying to by heart is not important. Especially with the students, we try to remember remedies like anything. नहीं, मतलब नहीं उसका. Right? So for the idea of squeezing, smashing, crush, tear, jump, leap, pounce, all these are showing some action. Right? Now if I give you this idea, for example, right, I give you this statement. Now you try to trace out what is happening. The black and white colored dog with bloodshot red eyes was trying to jump over the fence. Now if you have to ask me the question from this line only, what are the questions that you will ask? Black and white colored dog with bloodshot red eyes was trying to jump over the fence. Make questions out of the sentence. What is that? Very good. Excellent. What is the color of the eyes of the dog? Excellent. Anybody else? Please talk. बिंदास बात करो. मैं तो खुला हूँ. तुम्हारे साथ बैठा हूँ. 2 साल फेल हुआ. मैं सबको ये बोलता हूँ क्योंकि I don't want to stand there. That is not my place at all. I feel very awkward when I stand there. I am okay when I am standing with the crowd. मैं तुम लोग के साथ हूँ. Tell, what is the question that you make? Huh? What is it doing? Pardon? What's happened? Very good. Why is it jumping? Huh? What did it look at? Yes, what did it look at? Now let us analyze on these questions. What was the first answer to this question you said? What is the color of the black and white? Was it told or not? Will it make any difference by asking that question? Shall we omit unanimously? Can we omit or do you have anything to defend? No. Omit. One. What was your question? What was the color of the eyes? Was it mentioned over there? What was the color? So the person will answer red eyes, bright red eyes. Shall we take this question or cancel? Cancer. Who was the next one? What was your question? What was it doing? Was it mentioned in the statement or no? What was it doing? So can we take that question or will you open that question? Omit because it was known. Omit. And what was the next question? Huh? What happened? Right. Now what happened is what? Huh? Huh? Is it past? What happened? Confidently say. So say past tense. Yes, it's past tense. What's happening? What's happened? What's happening? What's happening? Huh? Then what it is? Present tense. Is it okay to keep that question? How many of them say yes to keep that question? Vote for him. How many say yes? Okay. How many say no? Vote against him? Yes, one. There is still one candidate. You have to fight that candidate. 1 minute. Let us finish with this question. So can we keep that question? Unanimously all say yes, so we keep that question. What happened? What's happening? Okay. Who else is there to the question? You asked why is it jumping? Why is it jumping? How many say we keep this question? Raise your hands. How many say we don't want this question? Why? What is the need? What will you get? What will you get from that? If you say no, you have to justify your no, others will get angry. Why it is jumping? We cannot get? Okay, we cannot get substance. All those who raised who want to keep the question, anybody to justify why I want to keep the question?
Subject and we know the subject.
We know the subject. Very good. What else will know with that subject? What is the? Very good. So with that reasoning, what is the thing that you are understanding from that person?
What happened in past?
No. Reasoning. Footnote number 9. No problem. Cool yourself. Don't get anxious. We are all in one class today. We are debating throughout the day today. खेल में सीखेंगे हम लोग. Don't worry. ये सेमिनार ऐसा नहीं कि मैं कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन दूंगा. No, ऐसा नहीं होगा. We all apply ourselves. थॉट देखा क्या वो? सच बोलना वो देखा कि नहीं? सच बोलना वो देखा कि नहीं? See, this is what it is. The footnote number 9 gives us this idea. Most severe diseases may be produced by sufficient disturbance of the vital force through the imagination. We can understand how that person is imagining. What is that person's imagination? Behind what is the purpose of that jumping? He or she will make up stories. Yes or no? मुझे लगता है कि वो कुत्ता इसके वजह से जंप कर रहा था, वहां पर हड्डी था. मुझे लगता है कि कुत्ता इसके वजह से जंप कर रहा था, वहां पर कुत्ती थी. कुछ भी हो सकता है ना? Yes or no? It is beyond our imagination. So the idea is that person is going to talk from that perspective of his or her imagination. And that is where that imagination comes from, that individualistic ideas. ये उसकी सोच है. Are you understanding? ये उसकी सोच है जिस सोच के द्वारा वो कोई बता रहा है. It is because of that person's thinking, the ability to make that person's imagination, and through that imagination, it is his or her perception. Likewise, every individual has their own imagination. Similarly, every remedy has their own imagination. That's why Kent has given the chapter in mind, which is the biggest chapter, which is that? Because every remedy has its own imagination. और ये imagination of that remedy to the imagination of that person is what we try to match. Right? Till here we were learning in our colleges the matching of the imagination of a person to that imagination of the remedy. Now what happened was, there are many remedies in the same imagination. Yes or no? Under one television, there are many remedies. But what is the difference? This was a big problem. Are you getting? What could be the difference of 3-4 remedies coming under the same imagination? नमक ने भी वही इमेजिन किया, कुत्ते ने भी वही इमेजिनेशन किया, इग्निशन ने भी वही इमेजिनेशन किया. अरे मैं क्या देखूं फिर, किसका इमेजिनेशन देखूं? Are you there? Whose imagination should I see? Is it McCormick's imagination? Is it Ignatius's imagination? Is it Lackaran's imagination? Because all three have the same television. Then came the idea of understanding that each one's imagination, beyond that, their experience was different. The experience of each individual behind that same imagination was different. For example, if we have to see this idea about love disappointed, we have matron as well as Ignatius. Yes or no? But the idea behind the experience behind the matron's love disappointment is completely different from that of what Ignatius love. So therefore, what struck was that एक ही imagination है, कई remedies है. One imagination and so many remedies are under it. There could be some difference. All cannot be prescribed. Yes or no? Even though if I get a patient in front of me who tells me that I am completely disappointed with what happened to me, you say, my girlfriend left me. And you are taking love disappointed. अब खोला rubric, अरे बाप रे, इसमें 4-5 remedies, there are 4-5 remedies. Now what to do? Then start asking, did he have salt there in him? That's salt. Patient is saying no. अरे imagine during childhood, pickle and all used to eat. Make the something nonsense. No. Okay. Are you whimsical sometimes? You do some crack things or something like that? Think, ask your mother if you want. Are you doing something crack or something? Finish with the remedy, yaar. And if you don't behave hysterically, you don't tell me hysterical, how can I give English? That also is gone. And you are frustrated over that. It does happen or no? Huh? How many of us have really asked, do you ever have salt during your childhood or any time of that certain life? We all have done this mistake and we are all doing it. Sometimes we become so desperate and yaad kar yaar bachpan mein khaya gaya kidhar se. We are trying to see to it that what my thinking of the remedies should fit into the patient, and we are trying to fit it. But it is not, because what we are stuck is simply at the level of delusion. But we are not trying to see what is it that is beyond that delusion. What is it that is beyond his or her imagination? वो किस तरह से सोचता है, किस तरह से देखता है, the way he thinks, the way he sees makes all the difference. It is all that is important to understand what is his or her perception. That is very important. We should make a red note line on that. The perception of that individual makes all the difference. Make this note in your book. Very, very important. It is जिस तरह से वो व्यक्ति देखता है हर परिस्थिति को, और the way he thinks about it, the way he sees it and the way he thinks about it is very important, because that makes all the difference. Why? Because that gives us the idea about is it a type where he or she finds themselves to be sensitive. वो खुद में अपने आप में देखते हैं कि मैं सेंसिटिव हूँ ये चीज जो हो रहा है आजू बाजू, or is it that there is something that other person is trying to do something to me, or I am trying to do something to the other person? Is that the way the imagination goes? Or the third person might think, is there something that is deficient in me? Is it that I am incomplete? Is it that I am being made incomplete? So the idea is the perception a plant way, or is the perception an animal way, or is the perception an mineral way? वो मिनरल के तहत देखता है या एनिमल के तहत देखता है या वो प्लांट के तहत देखता है? That will give us the idea, because now we are seeing under same delusion there is a remedy from the plant, there is a remedy from the animal, there is a remedy from the mineral. दो क्या है इसको? All three are the same delusion. So then the idea came in that the idea of understanding the remedies and the idea of understanding the remedies from the material medical point of view is this beautiful artistic way of understanding the way that imagination is perceived further. किस तरह से वो अपनी सोच को देख रहा है, किस तरह से अपनी सोच को वो परख रहा है और उसके खिलाफ किस तरह से वो प्रतिक्रिया कर रहा है. That is the way that person sees that particular situation of his or her imagination. What way the person feels about it in that particular situation or that particular imagination, and the way the person reacts to that particular imagination. Are you getting? क्योंकि मैं देखूंगा, feel कुछ होगा, right? And then I will have my own imagination over it. Yes or no? And human will react to it. Do you all agree to this or not? Anything, any situation will happen, I will see that situation. There will be some feeling that will come into me, anger, irritated, frustrated, whatever. Then I start imagining why me only. Am I a servant over here? Am I a dog over here? These are all imagination. Behind that imagination, the way I experience myself, what happens to me within me, what happens to me in my mind and body collectively, right? And further to that is how I react. Human will react. Yes or no? The way I will react collectively together gives us the idea about something that we call it as the stress. This is the stress for an individual. If today you have to understand, if I am in a lot of stress, people say, what tension, lot of stress. Only thing you have to do is about work. What will be your first question? About work. So what will you get in that? The subject of stress. Oh, my girlfriend is not coming with me. Oh, my girlfriend is not telling me yes. Oh, I have not completed my journal. Oh, I have not completed my journal. Oh, my portion is not completed. 1.5 months left for exam. What will I do? Various different. I am giving example which is common to us in this room. Apart from 2-3 people who are practitioners, common to this particular room. Now, in that subject, what do we have to see is first what we have to find?
Subject.
Loudly? Subject. Loudly? Subject. First, understand what is the subject. Don't randomly run. What is that stress for that person? What is the subject of the stress? Is that clear? One and all? पहला subject विषय किस बात पे उसको करना है? Once we know that, then next part will be what is the stress about in that? वो जो भी subject है, उस subject के अंदर आपको क्या stress है? What is the stress in that? No, if I do not submit my journal, then, for example, oh, I have not prepared for my exams. What do you think will happen? Are you ready? What do you think? Because there is an imagination behind. If I nahi complete kiya, if I do not submit, there is some imagination. Yes or no? What do you think will happen? I think X, Y, Z, whatever the person is. Till here, are you all clear? So first thing, what are we going to do? Find the subject. Then once we know the subject, what are we going to ask for? What is the stress in that? What is the worry in that? What is the botheration in that? So the question that will come is, what is the stress in that? First question. If not, what is the worry in that? Second question. If not, what is the botheration in that? If not, what will happen, you think? So maybe one of the question will be answered. Are you getting? By doing this, we will make an arrow down and right, we will get the imagination of the person. So, how will you write in a book is subject first, arrow down, what will happen you think? What is the stress about all those 3-4 questions? Arrow down, imagination you will get. Right? Arrow down further. In that imagination, describe about that, whatever the imagination, describe that a little bit more. Till here clear? Anybody with any problem? Sure? If anybody, please raise your hand, I'll answer. Don't go with confusion. Absolutely clear. Only 5 steps and you're through. First step is what? Subject. Second step is what? What is happening? What is causing? What is bothering? All those different questions in your language, whatever you want to write. With that, what you will get? Very good. Now when we reach imagination, what do we ask about it? Description. Very good. So fourth step is description. Right? Now in that description, below that, make a note. Little bit more. Didn't follow. Just So they will tell you more and more. Are you getting? Because by doing this, what will happen is the person loses his thought. And when he is losing his thought, his eyes will go somewhere else. And at that point of time, there will be some or the other image in that process. That servant. It's like that servant. It is like that slave. Describe that slave. Forget you. Describe that slave. Describe that servant. Describe that maid. Whatever that image comes, describe that image. Arrow down, describe that image. Are you getting? क्योंकि अभी वो अगर वो इमेज को डिस्क्राइब कर रहा है तो अपना खुद के बारे में नहीं सोच रहा हो. Are you getting this? And the best thing that human being can ever do, especially in Indian society, is to talk about others. हमेशा ऐसा. ये ऐसा कभी नहीं करेंगे. ऐसा. So describe that servant. So whatever he or she is describing, remember in school days, have you ever done this or no? Telling your friends. One finger pointing, 3 fingers pointing to you. See, it's your thinking. Yes or no? So they are describing about themselves. It's not about the servant. So describe about that. But you have to ask about that servant, that maid. Right? Keep describing about that person. तो जो भी ये description कर रहा है अपने बारे में description कर रहा है. Is this clear? Right? And then when the description is over, arrow down, experience in that. What's the experience in that? Just that experience. And you slowly, steadily start seeing what you will see here when you are asking about the experience. Grammatically, अब name हो गया, adjective हो गया, क्या बचा? The experience will be the verb because it is now the vital force of the experience. तन मन हट गया, क्या बचा? आत्मा. जैसे इन प्रवचन में, अरे ये शरीर यहीं पे ठहर जाएगा, जो अमर रहेगा वो आत्मा अमर रहेगा. हरिओम बोलो. वेरी गुड. हमको मालूम नहीं था. आपने बताया अच्छा होगा. So the idea is, at this point of time when they are describing about this experience, it is the experience of the vital force, and it is always represented as it. It is yellow. It is glowing. It has the shine. It is really proud. For example, in the sulfur, to give you this idea, it is shining. It is yellow. It has got the pride. It can really vouch on everything that is there. It is like something like fumes. It's the fumes of the wisdom of that substance that is floating all around. He will decorate like a philosopher. That's why we call it as ragged. What are the two words? By heart, yeah. What are the two words? इतना क्या सोच रहे हो? What are the two words in it? Very good. No, when you say rag, what do you mean? Huh? Anybody has dictionary in their mobile? Godless mind, so please. How beautiful life will be when you learn from this aspect. Just see how beautiful. And then you understand, wow, kya salvender. Who wants to read? Rag.
Having an irregular edge.
Pardon? Having?
An irregular edge, worn out from stress and strain, wearing tattered knots, executed in an irregular or uneven manner.
So what do you get? Tattered clothes, irregular, uneven manner, worn out. Right? So it is exhausted, worn out, tattered clothes, and completely. Yeah? Now read philosophy.
Study of ideas and beliefs about meaning of life. A set of beliefs that tries to explain the meaning of life or gives rules about how to behave.
What do you see here? Here there is something controlled, who knows how to behave and gives rules how to behave. On the other side, what is the philosopher? Who is scattered, everything is worn out. Sulfur is both together. The idea is for sulfur that from inside, that is his brain, doesn't have that much amount of knowledge. But externally he will behave as if he has got too much of knowledge. Are you getting this? Sulfur person इंटरनली खोखला है, लेकिन बाहर से क्या बताता है? जैसे कि मैं ज्ञानी हूँ, अंतर्यामी हूँ, तीनों लोगों का स्वामी हूँ मैं. This is how the sulfur will tell you. But you ask any one question to him, finished. अरे वो तुमको समझ में नहीं आएगा यार अभी. No, difficult है. बताऊंगा बाद में बताता हूँ. And the विषय he will turn. The subject he will just twist and turn. Right? So the best way to understand sulfur is externally is this. Antaryami. तीनों लोगों का स्वामी. Right? So that people feel, wow, what a knowledge he has. क्या बात है यार. बात करने लगेगा तो वाणी में से उसका वाणी में तो ऐसा कमल खिलते हैं. This is how the sulfur will talk as. But internally, when you really ask a detailed questions about it, sulfur doesn't have any. Now this is how he will describe at the energy level. That it is yellow, it is golden, it is something that has got pride, it has got fumes, and it is so this thing. He will blow it up and show you all the other side. So sulfur has got this one side that shows the pride at the energy level. And at the failed state, the sulfur might give you the idea about someone who is exhausted, a beggar like, a person who has got completely withered out in life. So her तबाही, जैसे हर इंसान के पहलू में दो साइड के सिक्के होते हैं, एक जीत विजय और दूसरी साइड पराजय का भी हिस्सा रहता है. यस और नो? नॉट ऑल डेज आर सेम. यस और नो? Some days we are elevated, some days we are happy, some days some things are going on well. अरे ये महीने में हर रोज 10 पेशेंट नया केस लेकर, अगले दिन यार क्या लाइफ है यार, पेशेंट ही नहीं होता है ऐसा. Yes or no? Especially this season, people have got lot of patients. Moment in December 1, no patient यार, ठंडी का मौसम. So there is a successful story in each one's life and there is a failed story in each one's life. Similarly, we have in every remedy a failed state of the remedy and a successful state of the remedy. If you understand pulsatilla, what do we see about pulsatilla's personality? Weeps easily. What else? Huh? Lean thin disposition. And how many people have ever seen a good, stout, fat, nice, fluffy pulsatilla lady? Angry as ever, irritable, husband को छापड़ मारेगी वो. देखा है कभी? हाँ? That is opposite of pulsatilla. क्योंकि उसका भाई स्टैफिस सेक्रेटरी इतना घमंडी है, तो वो नहीं हो सकती. Can't pulsatilla be? What do you all think? Staphylococcus aureus come from the same family. If Staphylococcus aureus has that much amount of ego, will Pulsatilla have that much amount of ego or no? हाँ क्या? बिल्कुल ही नहीं हो सकता. सौतेला है क्या वो? नहीं, सेम ही फैमिली का है. So, what we see in our materia medica is the one that is prominently being proven. In 100 cases of Pulsatilla, 90% of them have given this mild tendency. Weeping disposition has